That being said, let's go to the KUAM News Zoom room where we have standing by the political party chairs of Guam. We have the Democratic Party Chair, Sarah Thomas Nutty Dog, and the Republican Party Chair, former Senator and current senatorial candidate, Tony Yada. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Bree.
Thank you.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Sarah.
Scott.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
We're just going to start. I know we got you guys on about the press release, but I got to get a reaction to this last interview we had about a woman who came back because her parents were dying of COVID. She applied for a compassionate release, but apparently we're a little short on compassion. That release denied. She sat in a quarantine cell while her father died. And they still didn't let her out early. And now her mother has passed. Her husband's currently in a quarantine prison cell.
With their children.
So I guess we'll just start with you guys' reaction to this whole situation. I mean, this quarantine, I feel like Babylon's about to fall. So I guess we'll start with you, Sarah. What's your reaction to the specific story and just the whole the chain of events that have happened with the quarantine facilities in the last few days?
Thanks, Chris. I just heard the last few minutes of it, but as you said, it was heart-wrenching. You know, what I did hear and what I do understand about their story. And I can't explain, you know, what all the details and the processes that they had to go through and what they experienced. I can certainly, as a person who's dealt with grief and dealt with very difficult situations like this, dealing with the system, it is heartbreaking. And I'm very, very sorry for what they've had to experience. And at this point, you know, the whole idea of the quarantine and the lockdown is an important strategy and to help prevent further cases. Now, as you all know, the governor has declared PCOR 1 until Friday. And if she lifts it or not, I mean, I don't know. She's being advised by public health officials, and we'll see what happens after that. But our condolences go out to this family and many other families who are also dealing with similar experiences and definitely deaths from the virus. I myself have very close friends who are in the same situation, who have died or who are in the hospital for weeks and weeks. And I know the strain and the pain that goes with not being able to see family members and not being participatory. So our deep and sincere condolences to this family.
Tony?
Yeah, you know, our condolences to Raquel, her husband, and to their families on the loss of Raquel's parents. It is very heart-wrenching to hear the stories that they're talking about, you know, the process that was going forward. And, you know, I was just mentioning to Sarah earlier that, you know, maybe now that as we know more about the virus, as we know more about protocols are in place, that maybe, you know, as time goes on, protocols will be updated where people will be able to, you know, be with their loved ones, you know, and not die alone in the hospital. I mean, we've seen protocols change, and if you remember at the onset of the virus, those who passed from COVID-19 or as a result and related to COVID-19 had to be cremated or buried within the first 24 hours after death. So that protocol now has changed. So now families are able to grieve and mourn the loss of their loved one by having their body present and not being rushed to mourn their loss. So I'm sure, and you know, as the governor moves forward with the advice of her physicians advisory group, we'll be able to adjust protocols and standards and hopefully, you know, in due time, ensure that no one else will die alone in the hospital, and that they're able to at least have a loved one or a couple of loved ones with them by their side during their last moments. But again, these are all fluid decisions that need to be made on a daily basis. And I think as we learn more, we know more, then we'll be able to adjust the protocols as time goes on. But again, our condolences to the families, and our love and prayers are with them.
Well, as you said, these protocols are fluid, and I think what in this particular instance, it really is just heartbreaking, because exemptions, and that's the thing, exemptions have been made for questionable, which people can question, but exemptions aren't made in valid situations like this family.
Common sense, valid situations. Situations where you go out and ask 5 people on the street what should be done with this person, and they'd all say, let them go, and let them go home quarantine.
And I think that's just really, it's a shame, actually.
It's just politics to me.
Yeah.
All right, on to the press release. So somebody got endorsed by the Action PAC, and some people didn't. And it kind of was a little bit of back and forth between the respective parties. We're talking about the Action PAC endorsements here that came down. The Action PAC, I believe, is comprised of business owners and some people from the Chamber of Commerce. And we'll just start there, Sarah. Why didn't we see more Democrats get endorsed by this Action PAC? I think there was Senator Theresa Lahi and I want to say Democrat candidate John Ananich.
Yeah, those were the two.
Those were the two, yeah. Right. So, again, why didn't we see more Democrats get endorsed by the Action PAC, and do you even care?
Of course we care. I mean, that's a really, I think, significant endorsement made by a variety of entities. I'm not quite sure. That's the leadership of those entities. I'm not sure if the survey was taken by all of their members or not, because they do have a great following. And of course, we're interested in hearing, and that's probably a question that will probably best be answered by Tony Atta, like, how did they come up with it? Because I really, I see the survey and the survey results, but I don't quite know why Therese Tarahi and John Ananich made that list. But I'm sure there's going to be other political action groups that are going to come forward, and they're going to have their list based on what they see as being their primary values and outcomes. So,
are you aware, Sarah, because according to the Action PAC, they sent this questionnaire to all the candidates in the senatorial race. Are you aware if all the Democratic candidates actually responded?
I don't know what the response was of all the candidates.
But do you know if they responded, actually participated in the questionnaire?
I don't know. Okay. They all did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony?
I don't know.
Yeah, Chris, we're elated that the Action PAC has selected 10 out of 12 candidates, Republicans. And I think it just goes to the, when you were talking about how many people responded, and I believe when I was listening to them, I think it was 73% Republicans and 27% Democrats that responded to the questionnaire. So if I'm inaccurate in that, I think that's what I heard. But right. I think that when you look at the questions that they did ask, and I think these were questions that were based on supporting of the community, of our economy and things like that. Military buildup, rollback of the BPT from 5% to 4%, more government transparency in all levels, decreasing the size of government. And I think when you talk about decreasing the size of government, I think it's more of like attrition and retirement, right? Mm. So not to fill positions that were vacated or due to retirement, or
Of course.
So I think that's how when you get more Republicans that were responding to the questionnaire, and I think it's just because more 73% of them did respond versus the Democrats 27%.
Right. No, well, it says here that 50% of all the candidates, I guess that's Democrats and Republicans, actually responded to their questionnaire. 27% of the incumbents responded, and then 73% of the new candidates. So I think that's of the 50% that responded.
So Sarah, let me ask you: with this questionnaire that went out, do you just feel it's so partisan, and these questions are geared to really kind of favor Republicans? Is that why we didn't see a lot of Democrats responding or getting endorsed? Because I mean, let's be real, there are partisan issues with all of these questions that they put out.
Yeah, I think that the response that I've heard, or the reaction that I heard from folks down there at the legislature and around the community in terms of Democrats, was that the survey was set up in a way where the questions would deliver a response that would be in favor of the Republican Party. And so, you know, I don't think that the candidates, at least from what I've heard from them, feel that the questions were presented in a manner in which, you know, it would reap a fair, I guess, results. And so just seeing those questions, I think it was discouraging for folks that were in the Democratic Party. It's like, you know, this is like a no-win situation. So it's unfortunate that it was perceived as such, and it was developed in that manner. But you know, prayerfully, we're going to see more surveys and greater participation from all of our candidates. I think it's important for our people to know, you know, how our candidates feel about certain issues, and certainly some of the ones that were brought up by the PAC are good ones, ones that I think all of our people or most of our people would also think are good strategies and moving forward. So, you know, that's where we need to come together, is like, where's our common ground, and what can we work on together?
Right.
Yeah, for me, I think it's disappointing that only half of the candidates responded. And like you said, these are issues that people do want to know about. And I'm just reading it here. Action PAC's 5 key initiatives: right size the government of Guam, improve transparency in all levels of government of Guam, support for the military buildup, support for a part-time legislature, and rollback of the BPT from 5% to 4%. And Tony, I'm not sure if you participated in the survey or not, but were these open-ended questions, or were they just yes or no?
No, they had yes or no, but then they gave you a short time to or a couple of sentences to respond to your answer. But I think I have to disagree with Sarah at this point, that they weren't geared towards in favor of the Republicans, because when you look at the makeup of the Action Committee, the Action PAC, is that they're both Democrats and Republicans. You got the Guam Women's Chamber, you got the Korean Chamber, you got the Chinese Chamber, you got the Guam Chamber, you have the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association. And all these entities put together, I'm sure that, you know, they're both Democrats and Republicans, and they had a committee that formulated the questions that would be sent out on the survey. So I think with that in mind, the candidates, as they answer these questions, should know that these questions are questions about how we're going to move our government forward, and how we're going to rebuild our economy, how we're going to support our economy, and what are we going to look at for government transparency, and how are we going to improve our livelihoods as the days go on. Because as we know, there's still 35,000 people unemployed, that come the end of the year and the start of January 2021, what is going to happen when the federal assistance starts to runs out or completely stops. So these are things that we need to look at, and I'm sure that both candidates on the Republican and Democrat side have, their ways of answering the questions,
Right.
but hopefully, they'll be able to participate.
Let me just ask you then, Senator. So, like and we'll just get specific. In the specific case of one of the Democrats that you guys endorsed, because I kind of feel like Ananich will just say whatever he needs to say to get any kind of endorsement. But with Senator Terlahi, was she just so keen on the transparency and the fiscal responsibility issues during this pandemic? Is that what kind of pushed her over the edge for you guys' endorsement? Because I'm not sure her stance on some of the other things, like, well, obviously the military buildup. Which, I mean, asking that question, do you support the military buildup? What kind of question is that? I mean, it's just kind of loaded, and I don't want to agree with Sarah, but I got to agree with her on at least that point, because, I mean, asking a question like that and leaving it as a strict yes or no answer, I'm not sure.
But was it a strict yes or no answer, or was it open-ended? Were you able to provide an
No, it wasn't a
explanation?
strict yes or no question answer, and you had an opportunity to respond, and I think what the military buildup brings is that it brings, opportunities.
I have a copy of the survey, Senator. It says here, number 4, our economy is supported by the 2 pillars, tourism and the military. Our tourism industry is at a standstill. With recovery projected to take 2 years, the only viable economic activity is the military. Given this, do you support resuming military activity so to stimulate the economic activity? Yes or no? I don't see. There's no space to write.
I think the end of the survey, they give you an opportunity to answer. A couple of sentences, or to answer on your yes or no question.
Right on.
Yeah.
Like Chris, if I can, for example, you brought up the military buildup. The military buildup, I mean, it's like, how could we not continue to embrace the military when Guam has an incredible number of, we have the highest percentage of theater vets from Guam, that have been in the military and participate in the military and have lost their lives in the military. Guam is very, very military veteran oriented. That's not the issue. The issue is with the military buildup, which is not an opposition in terms of an economic strategy. But what is concerning, and we have to make sure we always protect our environment. Mm-hmm. We cannot support anything that has irreversible or adverse impact on our environment, our culture, our people. And as long as those negotiations are open and discussed, and it's not a plan that is given to us without our mutual consent, that's a problem. So, to have a yes or no with the military buildup is like, really? We are not saying, we're not looking at different ways in which to generate income, that we don't welcome the military and we don't honor the many veterans here on this island. It is what is going to be the impact and how are we going to manage that? And that is the critical component that is not out there right now.
Right. And I mean, support for the military buildup is already a done deal. The buildup is going to happen.
Right.
So,
and I feel like it's just a way. It's
keep an eye on
Senator,
the progress of military buildup.
I just feel like in that, it just seems like you're trying to paint people as anti-military if they answer that.
Why are you saying Senator? Is he on the action pack?
Oh yeah, sorry, you're not. Well, the action pack, I guess. And that's where it's kind of like muddy with the water. And what Sarah keeps alluding to is that we're going to see other PACs, which is the whole point.
Are we going to see other? Probably. What's the organization?
Are we going to see like the Democrat version of the action pack?
Oh,
I don't think the action pack is a.
Or right. Are we going to see a version of an action pack that has like 10 Democrats? Being endorsed and
the action pack is the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, the Guam Association of Realtors, the Guam Chamber, the Guam Contractors, GHRA, the Guam Women's Chamber, and the Korean Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, it doesn't say this is the Republican Party of Guam's action pack, or the Democratic Party of Guam's action pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I'm just saying, are we going to see a pack come out like, there's Superman and Bizarro? Are we going to see a pack come out like an action pack that's composed of different groups for, you know, from different walks of life.
Or
and then they
another
all end up,
organization that's going to come out with their endorsement.
yeah, their highly partisan endorsement.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Chris and Sabrina, you know, the Democrats, we had our candidate forum last week, Thursday and Friday, and all of our candidates were out there and did their presentation. And I think it was well received. And we're going to continue to do those kinds of activities in the coming weeks to help the voters learn more about the candidates and hear what some of their plans and insights are. So we'll look to that, and we'll focus on those kinds of forums in terms of the party. And as has been said, you know, the PAC isn't about a Republican Party endeavor. And what we're trying to say is that, you know, we're going to do something just like that. No, we're not, but we are going to have more forum type activities so that our community can connect with and understand a little bit more about the candidates that are going to be on the ballot coming up. So that's really, you know, our strategy. I think the forums went really well. They've given us more ideas and encouragement on how to move forward, and that's really where we're at this point. Is looking forward to exposing and sharing with our community who our candidates are. We think we've got a good slate and great diversity, and people from all disciplines and backgrounds. And I think once the community knows more and more about these candidates, that they will think very seriously about voting Democrat in November.
And I think Sarah's right about, you know, getting the word out there. Even with the Republican Party, you know, we're doing social media. And these trying times with in this election, you know, getting the word to the people and informing them and getting them to know the candidates on both the Republican and Democrat side, to be more informed. Are what the parties, both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, are looking to do to continue that. And when you have action packs or even different groups that come out with questionnaires to the candidates, I think that gives them a little bit more exposure, and then it gets them to know more about the candidates.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you take a look at the basic values of the Democratic Party, and I think that was my attraction to the Democratic Party. It's very aligned with my background in human services and social services. And it's, you know, issues like social justice is on the top of our list. And making sure that our party continues to promote these values, like the environment. The environment's really big. Social equality. And that's our way forward, is taking a look at what we can do to improve upon it. It's a different time, and I know a lot of people are shaken up, and they should be. It's tough, but I think that the candidates, because of their diverse background, they're going to present to our community a commitment that is focused on inclusion, taking a look at the various sectors in our community that live and call Guam home, taking a look at our health issues, how we can improve upon that, taking a look at what safety and social justice issues are out there, and of course, gender equality. Those are the forefront, or the values of the Democratic Party. And I think that that's one thing that we all agree on in moving forward, is focusing on those issues. And it's going to be a pretty incredible year coming up after this election, both at the federal level in the U.S. as well as here on Guam. And so we're praying for good health. We're praying that we remain hopeful. And we're certainly praying for healing in our communities, so that we can move forward together. Thank you.
Tony?
I was going to ask, how concerned are you guys about the possibility of really low voter turnout, because people might not want to go out and vote because of COVID? And what are you doing to combat that?
But Tony, you can go ahead and answer, and then we'll flip it back to Sarah.
Yeah, so I think when the Guam Election Commission started early voting, in-office voting, I think that was the right step to do, is getting our people to make appointments, going out there and vote, and ensuring that those who want to cast their ballots prior to November 3rd, and those that didn't have the opportunity between now and then on November 3rd to go out to the polls. Getting the people out there is going to be a challenge, and I think that all we can do is to ensure that the Guam Election Commission, which they have come out repeatedly and said that, you know, they're taking the safety plan that has come out to ensure that people are protected when they go out to vote, and they got the curbside votings, they got the in-office votings, so you know, all these things put together. We're hoping that there'll be a great turnout for the election. It may be maybe 60, maybe 65% coming out to vote, but we want to ensure and let the public know that there are safe ways to vote. There are safe ways to cast your ballot. So, you know, make an appointment, call the GEC 477-9791, make an appointment, and so that you can go in when at an allotted time to cast your vote.
What about the Republican Party? Do you guys have any concerns with the congressional election? I'm just, because I feel like it's like a one person versus two different people. Right. In a sense, you've got the one Republican versus two Democrats.
Yeah, and I think that was
and I guess that could go the same way for the Democrats. But
when they canceled the primary election, you know, it was going into the general. It would have been one Republican candidate with one Democrat candidate. Now, you know, we're looking at three candidates going for one office, and what are the possibilities of none of them making the 50% plus one and still going to have to move on to a runoff? So, you know, it's going to be interesting come election day when they count the ballots and see who gets to be selected between the three candidates moving forward, if there's a runoff or if they are able to garner the 50% plus one on election day.
Sarah?
Well, going back to the Election Commission, I think that, you know, I've always been so very proud about Guam because we really have a high voter turnout rate. If you take a look at traditionally or historically, Guam has always had a very good voter turnout in comparison to the other states, right? So, you know, we've always been around 50-60%, if not more. And you're right. Right now, that is a worry. And that's really today is voter registration day nationally, by the way, for those of you that don't know. So we're out there trying to find those people who may not have voting and encourage them to find their ways, or if we can help in any way, to let us know how they can get to a voting place. The Election Commission has done an incredibly awesome job in terms of the safety of voters. I mean, that commission has been meeting, you know, to make sure that whatever way is presented to our community, that people are going to feel a sense of safety. So if anything, that's my message to the listening audience is please go out to vote, encourage people to register that are not registered, get your family to go together down there as much as possible, give people rides, especially our menumku, our persons who have difficulty with mobility and transportation. You know, find those people in your family and encourage them to vote. That's critical. So I agree with you. That is a major area that we all as a community need to do, is to encourage people to find ways. And as I said, I think the Election Commission has a great safety plan, and we need to trust it and do our best to be safe, but to go out there and vote. There's early voting going on today. It started on Saturday,
right.
and I believe it ends on October 30th. So please vote.
Sarah, last thing on the congressional.
On the congressional, you know, no one asked for this scenario, okay? It was a result of the cancellation of the primary that we now have 3 candidates. And it's certainly going to be quite difficult for any one candidate to garner that 50% plus 1. So we're going to go out there and of course encourage folks to vote Democrat and to vote for Robert Underwood or Mike Nicholas, and we'll see where the chips fall after that. And if there is a runoff, then we're going to go with that, you know. But it is truly, it is a consequence of the cancellation of the primary. And it was unfortunate one, but it was a decision that needed to be made and was made. So at this point, we need to move forward and just encourage our people to look very closely at the candidates. We have awesome congressional candidates, both Mike Nicholas and Robert Underwood. So let's see what happens from here.
All right. That's our top story, by the way. Democratic Party chair says Mike Nicholas is awesome. More at 6. Tony, Senator, thank you. Sarah, thank you guys. We got to run along to the next, but definitely appreciate you guys coming in. And
guys, take care. Okay,
You too.
Stay healthy and safe. You know, because we need you guys out there too.
Thanks, Sarah. You stay safe too. Thanks, Tony, for coming in.
Appreciate it, Tony.
Bye, Tony.
Bye.
All right. There's a little more civil debate here between the 2 party chairs. I think Carlo Branch was busy defending Gura, maybe.
Writing up clarifications for executive orders and changing things around here.
Oh, my God. Let's just go to the KWM News Zoom room because I think she's already been waiting long enough. We're bringing on Janella Cruz here, who was a client of attorney Rachel Azuzu. She won her release.